does life feel like now that you are actually done?
I would say life feels like peace. The dissertation process is completed, it's over. I've accomplished what I set out to do, and it really feels extremely good.
If you're your student yourself and you haven't been through this, sometimes you just can't see it alone.
Just go for the consultation and find out about the program and see if it's for you. Yes, strongly suggest that you consider done dissertation.
It's one thing to hear from me to talk about how to navigate the dissertation process, but it's another to hear from doctoral students who have successfully done it and earned their doctoral degree. And so on this episode from ABD to PhD show, we are going to talk with one of our Done Dissertation Velocity Program alumni, Dr. Michele Wilson, who has successfully gotten through the dissertation process and is now living life as doctor, to talk about how did she do it, what were the systems that she put in place, what actually led her to considering getting coaching, and then now what are the great things she's going to do with her dissertation done. And if you just watched this for the first time, my name is Dr. Ramon Goings. I'm host of From ABD to PhD show and founder of Done Dissertation, where our goal is to help doctoral students write and defend a dissertation in record time. And if you're a doctoral student who's in need of support, today's sponsor, the Done Dissertation Velocity Program, is here to support you. So if you need a system, you need a community of like-minded scholars to help you get done, what I would invite you to do is go to www.velocitydissertation.com to learn more about our program and to apply to work with us, or you can scan a QR code that is right here on our screen. But with that said, I'm so excited for today's episode because it's amazing when you see doctoral students who come into Velocity, really get through the system and understand what we're trying to do, and then take everything and then run with it and finish in record time. So with that said, I want to introduce you all to Dr. Wilson. Dr. Wilson, thank you so much for being on today's episode.
Thank you so much, Dr. Goings.
It's so good to see folks when they are done, right? And so the first thing I always like to ask people that I've successfully gotten through the process, like, what does life feel like now that you are actually done?
I would say life feels like peace. And what I mean by that is that the dissertation process is completed, it's over. I've accomplished what I set out to do, and it really feels extremely good. That's how it feels.
Yeah, I know, because sometimes you're as you're writing and you're like, man, will this ever end? And then your ending has come, and so it just feels that relief and thing, to be have it done. And so for the folks watching, can you talk a bit about what was your dissertation like? What did you explore in your dissertation? What was the focus of your project?
The focus of my project was to look at first generation college graduates and how they navigated through the process of becoming graduates. So just looking at our first time generation college graduates, and also looking at the fact that now we have an attack on DEI initiatives, and how are they actually going to navigate through the process of being successful graduates as our world is changing. So that was the focus of my dissertation.
No, I love it. And it's such a relative, timely topic, given everything that's happening in the United States context, for sure. And so, I always like to rewind a little bit. And so you get into your doctoral program, and I know for you, you're administrator as well in the school system. So like how, when you first started your doctoral studies, how did you balance the full-time work, what you need to do with your school system versus being a doctoral student as well?
I would say it was very difficult at first because I had to navigate two competing priorities. So it was very difficult at first to decide, okay, when can I work on this dissertation? And when can I work on some of the things that was a demand for my school district? So just trying to navigate that process and to make sure that everything had my complete attention.
Now, when you were doing your classes and going through your program, did the writing come easy at that point? Like, talk to me about like just being in coursework. Was that some students struggle, some students don't, but like, what was that experience in coursework like for you?
I would say the coursework for me, it was a struggle because I was always trying to find that time to write the dissertation, but yet I had another paper to do, or I had a discussion post to do, or I had some other type of work to do that wasn't related to my dissertation. So just trying to find that balance was difficult for me at first.
Yeah, and so I hear a lot of students that experience that, and so you got through your coursework, right? So like, talk a bit about like what strategies or what systems do you have in place at least to get through the coursework that helped you, like because there might be a student watching who's in that same boat as you.
I would say monitoring your time and making sure that you have a schedule that you have like carved out to do your coursework. and you have to have that time carved out to work on your dissertation. So balancing out your time between all of your priorities, and if you're working, of course, adding that to the mix as well.
And now,
Mhm.
we get through your coursework, and that's usually where students are good, right? Because there's a structure, there's all these things happening. But then we get to writing your dissertation. So did you see a shift that happened? Like how did that process start out for you when you were writing?
I would say the process started for me kind of rocky because I wasn't with Done Dissertation when I started. So my advisor, he tried to help me as much as he could, but there were times where I felt like I just needed extra help to help me get through the process of getting done. So that was one of the things that I kind of felt that I needed, and it was one of the reasons why I chose to seek out support, some extra support to get my dissertation done.
For you, did you find like the writing was the challenge? Where did you see kind of like your initial challenge when you're trying to figure out like I'm getting stuck at this point?
I would say the entire process, because this is not like the type of writing that I do every day. And just looking at what quantitative research is, what's qualitative research, how do these things work? How am I supposed to look at research articles when I'm deciding interview questions? Like the whole process as a whole was a concern to me, and I just felt like I just needed that extra help to kind of unpack for me what is it that Michelle, what do you have to do to get this done?
Yeah, and I remember when you started with this, I feel like you came in around when you were working on your literature review. I feel like around that time,
Yeah.
or so. And so I guess backtracking before you started working with us, you
Mhm.
said you started to look for support. How did that process go for you? Like, how did you even find out that there was a coaching space, getting a dissertation coach? Like, how did you even explore this?
Well, I actually reached out to another advisor who was on my dissertation committee, and he told me about Done Dissertation, Dr. Whitaker. And I had a very long conversation with him, and I said, Dr. Whitaker, I don't know if I can do this. I'm really concerned if I can finish this process. I'm halfway through the program. I've been in chapter 2 forever. I don't know if I can get to chapter 3, and I've just really needed some help. And he said to me in a very calm voice, he said, I have the perfect coach for you. And he told me about you, Dr. Goins.
That's so funny. Yeah. And I remember you coming to work with us in that lit review. I don't know what it is about that lit review. It just holds folks up. So
Yeah.
I can understand that. And then, it comes to a point when you learn about what we're doing. And so for you, did you like watch videos that we had put out? Like, or did you just kind of go off his recommendation and reach out? Like, what was that process right before you started
Well,
to?
you know what? He actually shared your website with me, and I got a chance to kind of look at some of your past videos. I had a chance to look at your website and what you had done in the past. Some of your, I guess it was like some of your podcast I
Yep.
looked at, and I said, this is for me.
No, I got you. And then you come in, apply to work with us, and then you talk with Renee about kind of the program, how it's structured, and what it looks like to invest. And I know for a number of students, they may say, you know what, that seems like a lot of money to them, and like the investment is always it could be a struggle. And so, like, what was it about you, or what helped you make that decision? Like, I got to invest in myself to get this help that I need.
I think one of the things is that um, Renee really talked about the structure of the program. She talked about the support that you would receive in the program. And it wasn't like sometimes when you do like you try to go to new programs, it's like a sales pitch or something. I didn't feel that way at all. To me, it was like, we're here to help you. And I think that was the message that kept coming to me, or coming through to me, as she was talking to me about the program.
Yeah, that's
That's the part that got me. And when she said, well, we're going to give you some time to think about it, I said, I don't need to think about it.
Is that just you as
I
a
said, I'm
person, like, to
good.
make that decision? Like, are you just a person who just makes a decision, or like, do you think about like what's your thought process? I'm always curious.
Um, you know what? I think it's because I had done a lot of research prior to,
Yeah.
and Dr. Whitaker had talked to me about your program before, and Dr. Whitaker has done some different projects with me related to the school district that I work for. So it wasn't like he was just someone that I just didn't know.
Right.
Like, we actually had worked together. So I knew that if he had said that this was a good program, then I knew it was something I needed to look into further.
Yeah, and that makes
Mhm.
sense. And so, do you come in and start working with us? Like, how does, you were stuck kind of stagnant on the literature review. how does the
Mhm.
program help you get that momentum? Because then you start to move once we kind of got you in, and especially when we got to that lit review part. So, like, what did you do, or what about the program helped you kind of move this thing along?
I think the thing that your program has that a lot of different programs don't have is that you have tools in place that are easy to use to help you to move the work forward. So, like for example, there was a tool that you had related to feedback with from your advisor, and how do you take that feedback and incorporate it, like just little things like that that you would not normally get if you just worked with your advisor. Your advisor's just going to give you feedback and say, here it is. But you had this way of
Yeah.
just looking at your feedback and saying, okay, this is what your advisor wants. Did you address it? How did you address it? And showing you how to have that conversation with your advisor. And sometimes telling your advisor, well, no, I'm not going to change that,
Yeah.
but giving you the tools to be able to do that. And then just some other tools. You had tools for every chapter, and I found them to be very helpful, and including your book, because your book is very helpful as well.
I'm so glad. I'm glad to hear that. And I know for you, and I remember this. I just can't remember the details. So remind me. I remember there was a
Mhm.
point where you had to come to your advisor about something in particular they wanted you to change. Oh no! Here's what it was. It was the participants. And I
Yes.
know you were in your proposal phase, like figuring out like how many participants. And I think you had a number. I think they maybe
Mhm.
wanted 50, and then you were trying to settle like the 10 to 15 range. And so like
Yeah.
walk through what you did, because I think that's something as doctoral students are navigating these these interpersonal relationships with their
Mhm.
advisor. That was something that you did very well and successfully. So talk a bit about like that experience and how you navigated it.
Oh, I remember that conversation like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
When we were having the call, like we were on the call on Monday night,
Yeah.
and I said my advisor wants me to do 50, and I'll never forget your face. You were like,
Yeah.
50.
Mm-mm.
And then you just gave me this simple solution that I would have never like come to on my own. You said, well, look at some research from people who are actually doing a topic similar to yours, and look at how many participants they used. And they had the number that there was not one person that I found, and I did extensive research, that I found that had the number that I was being asked to kind of investigate. So when I said, well, I looked at some research and I had those articles lined up, and that was the end of that conversation.
Yeah, and see, that's
It,
you
yes.
implemented that part. Like that's a part. Like I think a lot of times
Mhm.
students are looking for help. They're also thinking about the writing and the tactical things. There's a lot of that, but it's those like that conversations you needed to have with your chair, and then the way you knew how to have it now, because you're like, I got my articles lined up in a PowerPoint. Like I'm ready for you. Like, and we're gonna kind of quiet all that noise.
Yes.
It's being able. What you figured out is like I could push back with evidence. It's not like I can't
Mhm.
advocate for what I want, but you recognize like you just need evidence for it.
Yeah, and to me, I would call it purposeful, like advocating for
I
myself.
like
Like
that.
that's what I would call
I like
purposeful
that.
advocacy.
I
That's what
like
I would call it. Because it's not like you're coming at your advisor.
right.
It's not like that. It's just that you're showing, okay, this is what I want to do, and this is why I want to do it based on the evidence. Very simple, clean cut way of thinking about it.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And so, for a lot of folks, you're working with us, getting things done, and you get through the first three chapters, you're ready to go and ready to hit the start button. Talk a bit about the experience going through data collection, because I think a lot number of students who are going to collect original data. Talk about that process of actually trying to go out and secure participants, and how that process went for you.
Well, I used the snowball method. That was the method that I used because, and I just used based on, people that I knew. Do you know anybody who's a first time college graduate? And that was a very successful route for me in terms of looking at, finding data or finding people for my study. That was very, very helpful. And there were so many people like in my network that I was able to find the participants that I needed. Now, at first it was difficult because you
Yeah,
know how a snowball goes.
yeah, you got to start it
It
out
does,
right.
you got to get it started. But once it got started, it was a great process for me.
Yeah, because I remember that
Hmm.
when you first got started. I remember coming to office hour one time. You're like, I got like one or two, but I can't get this momentum going.
Yes.
And I
But
remember we
once,
were we were sending out the call, and other people would say, "Hey, anybody who fits this? Like, talk to Michelle
yeah.
so we can help get this
And
project."
that was something else. Like when we had those office calls, there were other members on the call. You, of course, very helpful in that process because like there were other people. If I know anyone out, you guys were part of my process,
Yeah.
and I just really appreciated that.
Yeah, that network I think is a benefit, right? Because it's not only just you and your experience, but now we are able to kind of use our network to get things out for students. And
Mm-hmm.
so I remember you leveraging that. And I think at that point, I remember from that conversation, I think you finished data collection with like the next 2 weeks or so from that because you're
Oh
able
yeah.
to make it work and get everybody in.
Yes, exactly.
And so, as
Mhm.
you were finishing things up, with your process, what were some of the things that you did to give yourself the structure to finish? Like you were working with us, we kind of had a timeline and a structure, but were
Mhm.
there any things that you did, like maybe you had certain writing times that you always had? Like what were some of the hacks that you had for yourself?
I would say one of the things that you introduced to me was accountability time, like just blocking out time to write. And you had like several times that we could use. So I used it very early as I was working with you. And then I started doing it on my own, like just making my own accountability time.
Yeah.
But you put the structure in place for me to do that. Also, when we had our meetings, like just our one-to-one meetings,
Yeah.
and we talked about a timeline, like I followed that timeline. And it was just very helpful to keep that structure in place in order to finish.
Yeah, I love it when people
Hmm.
come in and out. And I'm trying to think. I think when you started with us, I can't remember to call the month that you started with us, but I think you finished everything within less than a year. Believe,
Yeah.
from kind of start to finish, which was great. I mean, to see that you're able to transform things immediately, within a year, where some
Hmm.
folks stay stuck in that point. Like, this is amazing. I'm always interested in that thought process that you had around like either I got to get help. Like, was help always the route you were going to go, or were you contemplating like, oh, I'll just figure it out?
At first, I was in that mode. I'm just going to figure this out because I have to figure it out. Um, and then there was a time before I met you that I was deciding if I really wanted to finish this at all. And
Oh,
I was
I
thinking
didn't know that. Oh
about
my goodness.
and I was thinking about putting this aside for another time.
Wow.
So, and it was after that I had that, I would say, life-changing moment conversation with Dr. Whitaker
Yeah.
that it opened my eyes to, you can finish this and you will finish it. So, and I'm very thankful and grateful to done dissertation, like the coaches, also the other students who were on the call.
Yeah.
Like I'm always like wondering, like I hope they're okay. Like
Y'all all are finishing like that group of
yes,
y'all that started like in 24. Y'all are finishing. Y'all
yes,
all finishing 25. Just about like I think even the last 2 weeks, 5 people
mhm.
have finished in the
Oh wow.
last 2 weeks. Like yeah, so number of y'all are getting in and out. It's great.
Yeah, I might want to pop on like one of the calls just to see how, just to say hi and just say, how are you guys doing? Because
Yeah,
it was really like a family.
yeah, definitely.
Hmm.
That's what we're trying to promote. And that was one of the things you came in and kind of got involved. Like, look, I'm going to use all these resources to get me to the finish line, and you've done
Yeah.
everything that you said you were going to do. And
Hmm.
so, for you, what was your intent with the doctorate? Is this something that you were initially trying to do for career aspiration, or was just for you? Like, what did you initially have as like your intent for the
You
degree?
know what? At some point in my career, because I'm towards, like, I've been in my school district for it'll be 28 years coming up.
Okay.
So I'm kind of looking at a transition period at some point. So I kind of want to look at maybe adjunct professor jobs in the future and kind of go that route. That's something I've always wanted to do. And I
Yeah.
know that in order to get into that world, I needed a doctorate.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Hmm.
And now what, I know you say trying to make this transition. So what does life look like now that you're done? Are you, how are you trying to use this doctorate? Are you starting to try to find classes to teach? Like what is this going to look like for you, you think?
Well, you know what? Right now, my one of my schools that I attended for my master's degree, they actually have a conference that's coming up
Okay.
that's talking about how to transition from where you are now to maybe, like, different things that you can do with your doctorate, or different, not just doctorate, but any type of like work environment.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for like different workshops. I know you guys offer them, so as soon as you guys offer some more, I'm going to be coming to yours.
Yes.
And just exploring that whole world, because that's a little different than what I've been doing for the last like 28 years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
exploring that.
It's so many opportunities for you now that you're finished, right? And so
Yes,
it is good to have it behind you so that you actually focus on what does life
yes.
look
And
like.
also writing is something I want to do as well. So I also want to write as well.
That's perfect. And so, what would you say before we wrap up? What would you say to the person who's considering working with us or getting a coach? Like, what would your thoughts be to them about possibly investing and working with Done Dissertation?
I would tell them to do just the process that I did. Look at some of your videos, look at your website, look at some of your resources, and just have the dissertation or just have the consultation. Just go for the consultation and find out about the program and see if it's for you. And one of the things that I would also stress is that it's not just a one-to-one like conversation like with you, Dr. Goings or Renee, but it's the fact that you have a community and you have like a family behind you, a support system behind you when you go to Done Dissertation. And I remember there was one call that we had for office hours, and there was one participant, and she was talking about how she had had a difficult week. And I thought it was just so nice how we all just encouraged her to keep going. And you need that if you're going to do this process. You need a support structure in place. It's not just about writing the dissertation and just going through the motions and talking to your advisor. Like, you want your work to matter and you want it to have an impact in our society. And I would strongly suggest that you consider Done Dissertation
No, I
as a support structure.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's just so good to see
Mhm.
y'all are done. Like I just did a interview with Dr. Jubert Karen. So last week
Yes.
she's done, y'all are done. It's just amazing to see y'all just moving this thing along. It's phenomenal
Hmm.
to see. And what's the best way? I'll put some notes in the underneath for the episode. But how can people reach out to you? Because there might be people who want to understand like your experiences, maybe want to leverage you as a consultant, given your experience in the K through 12 space. So what's the best route for people to get a hold of you?
I would say my school district email. You can
I'll put
use
it.
that email.
Perfect. I'll
You
put
can
that.
use that one,
Perfect.
or my personal email is fine as well.
Okay, perfect. I'll put that in the notes
Yeah.
for folks who want to understand more. But Dr. Wilson,
Hmm.
so proud of you, what you've been able to do. You got this degree done, and you are
Yeah.
off to the races. And so I'm going to put you behind the scenes for a second. We'll
Okay.
in a sec.
Thank you
So
so much.
thank you. So again, you have heard it from someone who's experienced it, gone through the journey with us at Done Dissertation, the Velocity Coaching Program. This is great to see what Dr. Wilson has been able to do, and for us, having so many years of supporting students, to see when students come to us where they're stuck, and then they figure it, that we call it the light bulb moment, that light switch moment, when they get that transition, and then they're able to move this thing off. And like for Dr. Wilson, during the literature review, once we figured that out, it was like, all right, let's move this thing off to the races, and understanding that coaching not only sometimes is about the X's and O's, right, the process, but it's sometimes about the strategy of like, how do you deal with your chair and advisor, like we talked about with Dr. Wilson. How do you advocate for what you need, or purposeful advocacy, which what Dr. Wilson described it as. Sometimes you need that, but if you're your student yourself and you haven't been through this, sometimes you just can't see it alone. And that's why we created the Velocity Coaching Program as a route to give you the support that you need in the infrastructure, so that you can, one, ask the questions, but then two, have someone who has been through this and supported hundreds of students to get through this thing in order to, get the insights to finish your dissertation. So if you're in that boat where you need the help and you want to join the ranks of Dr. Wilson and others who have been through our program, what I would invite you to do is go to www.velocitydissertation.com. You can scan the QR code that's here on your screen to learn more and schedule your consultation so we can help talk with you about how we can help you to the finish line. And with that said, I want to say thank you so much for watching this episode of From AB to PhD Show. I'm your host, Dr. Ramon Goings. And until next time, I wish you all a done dissertation. Take care.